Welcome back to my channel. So in this video, what I want to talk about is I want to talk to you about the step-by-step process in what I would do personally if I wanted to purchase an iPad. So typically when we make big purchases like this, we mainly ask ourselves, well, first of all, how much is this going to cost? That's, of course, that's an important thing that we think about. Another thing is, well, why do we need this iPad? So reasons could be, well, I want to watch Netflix or Amazon Prime with this iPad. I'm doing some branding or some marketing for myself, and I can design logos or do other things that's on the creative side with what I want to do with it. I could be, say, an iPhone user already, and I want sort of that Apple ecosystem that I want to use and have things be very portable and accessible through different devices. And I want to read some recipes as I'm doing some cooking on a bigger screen, have that in the kitchen with me while playing some music from the iPad. There's just a lot of things that I can do with this iPad, potentially, and more. And these are sort of things that we would want to ask ourselves before making a purchase like this. But I want to go a step further and show things like, well, do I really need this iPad in terms of getting an iPad? So that's going to be the last thing that we're going to be talking about in this video. But also, in addition to that, I also want to talk about just all of the little details that can surface, at least for me, and I'm sure for many people out there. There are, let's call these micro decisions that we need to face with before even making the purchase. For example, where am I going to make this purchase? Because let's even nail down the exact location, the store that I want to make the purchase. I also want to consider things like, if I'm going to buy this used, where am I going to buy a used iPad? Am I going to buy it from a seller on some secondary website? Am I going to be using social media to access the secondary market for used iPads? It really kind of depends. So let's kind of go through this process, like I said, of at least how I would go about doing this. And I'm going to be using ChatGPT to figure out not only what is the best way to go about buying an iPad, but is even buying an iPad worth it for me? So let's go. Okay, so now the next step is to open up the ChatGPT app. I'm just going to do it on my phone here, and I'm going to use the dictate feature to ask it a question by basically using voice to text to translate everything into my prompt. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask the very first question and try to make it as detailed as possible so that I can give ChatGPT the most amount of information and make it really dense so it could potentially give me a much better answer. So let's go. Okay, so ChatGPT, now that I have your attention, what I want to do is I need you to help me decide on purchasing an iPad. So let's just say, I don't want to spend too much money right now, but I still want to get a pretty decent iPad, the best one that's on market right now, or the one that's, the most expensive. I'll let you decide what kind of iPad you recommend for me. I also am thinking about using it for creative purposes. So right now I'm creating a YouTube channel, and I want to be able to supplement the iPad with the YouTube channel as well, if possible. Do you have any recommendations for that? Also, something to consider is if you know of any secondary markets, or if I can buy a used iPad, I want you to give me that as well. I also like to do some cooking occasionally, and I like to do things like I want to listen to music and get some recipes with my iPad as a reference point when I'm doing my cooking. And while I'm doing some cooking, I want to be able to listen to some music. Also at night, I like to stream things from a streaming device, but I don't typically like to use my phone because the screen is too small. So is there something, just based on everything that I'm saying right now, that you can tell me? So what are your thoughts on this, chat? So now let's see what ChatGPT is going to say. Okay, so now let's look at the responses. So first it says, okay, that I have different use cases. So I'm creating content. I wanted to use it for media consumption, a reference tool while cooking. I'm budget conscious and I'm open to buying used or furbished. So it just kind of summarized everything that I said. Now there's a recommendation. So of which iPad to get. Now it's recommending the iPad Air, the 5th gen M1 chip. So M1 chip has desktop level performance. It's great for certain apps that I can use it with, a 10.9 inch screen. It can support Apple Pencil 2nd generation and others. So we can go back to that in a second if you're not so technical. But if we go back to ChatGPT, so it gives me a price breakdown. So in the price breakdown, if I want to buy it new, it's basically going to cost me around $800, $900. So is that something that I want? And if I buy it used, it'll be much less expensive, but then it's telling me that I might have to use something like Facebook Marketplace. And I don't know about you, but for me personally, if I'm at a point in my life where if I can avoid using Facebook Marketplace, I would, because especially for something like tech where you're not quite sure, you know, if something is in good condition or not, because you can't just tell, obviously, based on the scratches on the device, because who knows what kind of software and actually what the internals are, how it's operating. And you can only guess by how old the device is, how much wear and tear there is. So that's always a little bit dicey. Now here's some recommendations on where I can buy it used. There's the Apple Refurbished store, which will also give me a link. And I can, again, Facebook Marketplace, but I will try to avoid that if possible. There's a place interesting called backmarket.ca. Sorry, I thought that said black market, but backmarket.ca. And then Amazon Renewed. There's some examples here that I've never used before, but I would definitely look into. And then it says, now what not to buy. So now it's telling me not to get the 9th gen, not to get the mini or the iPad Pro. Even dive into that more if we wanted to see, you know, what ChatGPT would say about that. So all in all, it's basically recommending that I go with the iPad Air 5, according to this summary here. And I can even go more specific with details like, do I want to focus on my budget more? So now we've seen what ChatGPT can give us in terms of a response to a quite dense prompt that we gave it. But in moments like this, especially for something like a big purchase, I want to just ask ChatGPT its opinion on what it thinks that I should be doing. So in moments like this, I'll just straight up ask, like, Chat, why do you think I should be purchasing an iPad? And, you know, how is this going to be for me in the long run, so to speak, right? So that's the next question I'll ask ChatGPT. Okay, thank you, ChatGPT, for that response. So at least now we have a starting place to begin in terms of what type of iPad I should purchase. But now I want to ask you a deeper question, which is, do you think, in your opinion, that buying an iPad is best for me? Now, I mentioned before that I do have a YouTube channel where I want to be able to use it from a creative perspective. Now, I'm kind of new to all this, so I don't really have a brand and marketing background. I don't really have a creative background. I'm not good at drawing. I'm not good at any kind of right brain hemisphere type things. So is this purchase going to be good in terms of my creativity? What is your opinion of buying this iPad? And can you tell me why or why not this is a good or bad idea? Okay, so now let's take a look at the response that ChatGPT gave me in terms of what it thinks in terms of me buying an iPad. So now it's saying that, okay, so now it's breaking it down for me. So reasons it might be a good idea, where it's saying that there's a creative sandbox, there's a low pressure, high play. It can be used as a YouTube workflow helper with different reasons. And of course, an iPad is better than an iPhone. So, and that there's longevity and resale value for iPads. Now it's telling me reasons to wait. So what are the pros? And then now what are the cons? If I'm not 100% sure if I'll use it creatively. If I have a laptop and a phone already, that's already good. And my workflow isn't iPad-centric yet. So you might discover that what you really need is better lighting, a mic, or editing software. So okay, so now we're getting into it, right? Number 4, price drop or new model incoming. That's all something that we understand with Apple. And is this going to lower friction for your creative flow, or maybe financially, if we want to go into financials more, to really kind of nail down what the issue is with me struggling to buy this iPad, not instead of me just going 100% and buying it outright. It's also given me like a table breakdown on positives and negatives, if I should be getting it or waiting, and then possible next steps. So things I could test for myself if I actually want an iPad or not. And so this is what I always appreciate with ChatGPT, that other AI chatbots that I've tried is other AI chatbots tend to be more kind of neutral in its opinions. It doesn't really give you opinions, but ChatGPT does. So now ChatGPT is telling me to wait. That is its honest opinion. So it's saying to wait unless you already feel a pull towards specific apps, sketching ideas, scripting videos on the go, or multitasking during cooking. Otherwise, let your YouTube flow prove the need. So now it seems to be focusing just around the YouTube flow because that's the last prompt that I gave it. So that's what it wants to focus on and not make a purchase for this iPad. So now I've gone through at least a couple of cycles of asking ChatGPT some questions around me purchasing an iPad. And at this point, I could really go one of two ways. Either I can just go deeper into some question with ChatGPT or multiple questions to see if I really want to get an iPad or not, or I can just make a decision now and either make the purchase or not make the purchase. So I think that's, I hope this gives you a good idea of just how we can think about this in terms of why we might ask certain questions to ChatGPT in a certain way to be able to get the result that we want. And on a deeper level, we can really make this more systematized and make it such that ChatGPT can give us responses based on things it can be learning about us. I know that's kind of a creepy thing because we don't like to be watched. We don't like to be kind of like spied on. But if ChatGPT knows more information about us, it can make better decisions about what we want and what we don't want. Or at least it can help guide us into making better decisions for ourselves. So I hope you appreciate this video. Subscribe if you want to know more, and let me know. Do you want to see me go deeper into these types of questions, or would you rather see me ask ChatGPT other types of questions about other things? And I can give you more examples of what sorts of things we can ask ChatGPT and how we can use those answers to help us. I know this was a long video. I appreciate you sticking around, and I'll see you in the next video.